The sterile smell of disinfectant hung thick in the maternity ward, mixing with the quiet beeps of monitors and the muffled cries of newborns echoing down the corridor. Anna lay weakly on the narrow hospital bed, her body still trembling from hours of labor. Her hair clung damply to her forehead, and her arms ached from holding her baby just moments before the nurse had gently taken the child for routine checks. Exhaustion pressed down on her like a physical weight, but beneath it flickered a fragile happiness. She had survived, and her child was alive. That fragile peace shattered when the door burst open. Her mother-in-law, Tamara Ivanovna, swept into the room with the force of a storm. Her heels clicked sharply against the tile, each step loud and accusatory. She did not look at Anna with concern or relief. Instead, her eyes scanned the room critically, as if she were inspecting a hotel room that failed to meet her standards. "So this is it," Tamara said coldly, crossing her arms. "This is where you think you belong." Anna struggled to sit up, confused and frightened. "Tamara Ivanovna, I just gave birth. Please, can we talk later?" "Later?" The older woman scoffed. "You've already done enough damage. I warned my son about you from the beginning. Weak, irresponsible, always pretending to be a victim." The words cut deeper than the physical pain still coursing through Anna's body. She opened her mouth to respond, but Tamara raised her hand sharply, silencing her. "I'm not here to argue," Tamara continued. "I'm here to make things clear. You are not welcome in our family. As soon as you're discharged, you will leave. Do not come to my house. Do not expect support. And don't even think about using this child to manipulate my son." Tears welled in Anna's eyes. She glanced helplessly toward the door, hoping someone, anyone, would come in and stop this. The nurse had stepped out only minutes earlier. The room felt suddenly too small, the walls closing in. "I never wanted to fight," Anna whispered. "I just wanted a family." "A family?" Tamara laughed bitterly. "You don't even know what that means. You're abandoned, remember? You came into this marriage with nothing, and you'll leave with nothing." The word, abandoned, echoed in the room, heavy and cruel. Anna clenched the sheet in her hands, trying to steady her breathing. She thought of her husband, Sergei, who had promised he would come as soon as he could get time off work. She had believed he would protect her, stand between her and his mother's fury. But he wasn't here, and Tamara knew it. "You should be grateful I'm even talking to you," Tamara went on. "Some women would have been thrown out much sooner. Frankly, I don't understand why you're still lying here acting like a queen." At that moment, footsteps sounded in the hallway, slow, deliberate, unfamiliar. Tamara barely noticed. She was too absorbed in her righteous anger. "I'll speak to the doctors myself," she said. "You don't need to stay here any longer than necessary. You're not my concern." The door opened again, but this time it didn't slam. It creaked softly. "Is that so?" The voice was calm, deep, and unmistakably confident. Tamara froze mid-sentence. Her face drained of color as she turned toward the door. Anna lifted her head slightly, confused through her tears. A tall man stood in the doorway, dressed simply in a dark coat and jeans. His presence filled the room without effort. He wasn't shouting, wasn't angry, yet there was something in his posture that demanded attention. His eyes moved from Tamara to Anna, lingering on the tear-streaked face of the young woman on the bed. Tamara's lips parted, but no sound came out. "You seem very comfortable deciding other people's lives," the man continued. Quietly. "Especially in a place like this. Who are you?" Tamara finally managed to ask, her voice suddenly unsteady. The man stepped inside and closed the door behind him. "Someone who doesn't tolerate cruelty," he said. "Especially toward a woman who has just given birth." Anna stared at him, her heart pounding. She didn't recognize him, but something about his presence made her feel, just for a moment, less alone. Tamara straightened her back, trying to regain control. "This is a family matter," she snapped. "You have no right to interfere." He smiled faintly, but there was no warmth in it. When family matters turn into abuse, they become everyone's business. Silence fell over the room, thick and uncomfortable. The machines continued their steady beeping, indifferent to the tension. Tamara opened her mouth to protest again, but the words seemed to fail her. For the first time since she had entered, she looked unsure, almost frightened. Anna swallowed hard, her tears slowing. She sensed that something important was about to happen, something that would change the course of everything she had been told to accept. And as the mysterious guest took another step forward, his gaze steady and unyielding, Tamara realized, with growing horror, that she was no longer the one in control. The silence that followed felt unreal, as though the hospital room had slipped out of time. Tamara Ivanovna stood stiffly near the bed, her fingers clenched so tightly around her handbag that her knuckles turned white. She was used to authority, used to people shrinking under her gaze, apologizing, retreating. Yet now, confronted by the unexpected stranger, she found herself rooted to the spot, her practiced confidence dissolving. Anna watched the scene unfold with a mix of fear and disbelief. Her heart hammered in her chest, not only from the confrontation but from the overwhelming exhaustion still gripping her body. The man by the door turned slightly toward her, and his expression softened. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. She nodded, though the gesture felt heavy. I think so." Tamara scoffed, forcing a brittle laugh. "Don't dramatize. She's always been like this, fragile, exaggerating everything." The man's eyes flicked back to Tamara, and the room seemed to grow colder. "She has just given birth," he said evenly. "Any person with basic decency would understand that this is not the moment for accusations or threats." Tamara lifted her chin. "You speak as if you know us." "I know enough," he replied. "Enough to see a woman being humiliated when she is most vulnerable." He moved closer to Anna's bed, careful not to intrude on her space. From the inside pocket of his coat, he took out a folded document and placed it on the bedside table. Tamara's gaze snapped to the paper. "What is that?" "Something you might find very relevant," he said. "Especially if you continue behaving the way you are." Her breath hitched almost imperceptibly. "You can't intimidate me." "I'm not," he answered calmly. "I'm informing you." Anna stared at the document, unsure whether to touch it. The man noticed and shook his head slightly. "It's not for you," he said softly. "It's for her." Tamara reached for the paper with trembling fingers and unfolded it. Her eyes skimmed the text, and with every line, her face grew paler. The sharpness in her posture melted into something brittle and uncertain. This is impossible," she whispered. "On the contrary," the man said. "It's very real." Anna watched Tamara's transformation in stunned silence. The woman who had stormed into the room moments earlier now looked as if the ground had shifted beneath her feet. "You lied," Tamara said hoarsely. You said she had no one." The man inclined his head slightly. "You assumed she had no one. That was your mistake." He finally turned to Anna again. "You don't remember me, do you?" She studied his face carefully. Something about his eyes stirred a distant memory, like a half-forgotten dream. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I don't think so." "That's all right," he replied. "You were very young." Tamara's breath came faster now. "Explain," she demanded, though her voice lacked its earlier authority. The man straightened. "Anna's mother was my cousin. When she died, certain arrangements were supposed to be honored. They weren't." His gaze hardened. "I recently discovered what happened, and how Anna has been treated since." Anna's chest tightened. She had grown up believing she was alone in the world, shuffled between distant relatives who never truly wanted her. The idea that someone had been looking for her all this time felt unreal. "You have no proof," Tamara muttered. "I have plenty," he said. "Including records, witnesses, and legal documents. Enough to raise serious questions about how certain family members benefited from her isolation." Tamara staggered back a step. "This has nothing to do with me." "It does now," he replied. "Because you chose to make it your business." The door opened slightly as a nurse peeked in, sensing the tension. "Is everything all right here?" "Yes," the man said calmly. "But I think it would be best if this woman left." Tamara turned sharply. "You can't throw me out." The nurse looked from Anna's pale face to Tamara's agitation and frowned. "Ma'am, patients need rest. If you're causing distress, I'll have to ask you to go." For a brief moment, Tamara looked as though she might argue. Then she glanced at the document still clutched in her hand, at the man's unwavering expression, and finally at Anna, who, for the first time, was not shrinking under her gaze. Tamara's shoulders slumped. Without another word, she folded the paper, shoved it into her bag, and walked toward the door. Her steps were unsteady now, nothing like the confident stride with which she had arrived. The door closed softly behind her. The room exhaled. Anna let out a shaky breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Tears slipped silently down her cheeks, but they were different now, no longer born of humiliation, but of release. Thank you, she whispered. The man pulled a chair closer and sat beside the bed. You don't need to thank me, he said. I should have come sooner. She looked at him, searching his face. Why now? Because sometimes, he said gently, the truth waits until the moment it's needed most. Anna rested her head back against the pillow, exhaustion finally claiming its due. For the first time in a long while, the future didn't feel like a closed door. Somewhere down the corridor, her baby cried, strong and alive. And as the man sat quietly beside her, keeping watch, Anna knew one thing with certainty: she was no longer abandoned, and no one would ever force her out again.